Hello everyone, welcome to the Commexis cast, all the news you need to know from our inbox to yours. Today we're talking about Google giving marketers more data than they previously did in Google Analytics and in the Google Search Console. Hello everyone, I'm Matthew McGordy, the videographer and podcaster here at Commexis, and today I am joined by the CEO of Commexis, Len Ward.
Good afternoon.
So today we're talking about Google giving some more access to data than they previously had, though as we'll get into, not as much as they had given many, many years ago. So earlier this month, this is all coming from a Media Post report by Laurie Sullivan. Earlier this month, Google confirmed that it would run a small-scale rollout of an insights analytic report in Google My Business that shows business owners the most popular search keywords that people use to find listings. In addition, the Search Analytics API in the Search Console will now allow advertisers to retrieve 25,000 rows of data per request, which is 5 times bigger than the previous 5,000 rows. So marketers can also query all of the Search Analytics without exceeding their quota by running a daily search to get that information. And they also have a published guide of how to do this, because I looked into it a little bit. I'm not an SEO expert by any means, and it confused me a little bit. So Google has a guide for you if you were also potentially confused by some of these different things. And Laurie Sullivan also does a pretty good job of explaining it.
So we do have SEO experts here.
Yes, we do.
Clear.
Amy Leach is here. We got SEO experts. I am the videographer. I am unfortunately not an expert at SEO, but I am certainly learning. So one thing I'm really interested in, Len, I obviously have not been keeping an eye on Google Search for as many years as you have, or as many years as Amy or Philip and some of the other people who work here have. So can you give me sort of a brief history of Google, sort of keeping data close to the chest in a way that they tend to do that is a little bit different from here?
So up until probably about 2012, Google actually used to show all of the keyword data on your website that would show on search results. You could go in, look at your Google Analytics, and you could pull pretty much, I think, upwards of about 80 to 90% of all the keywords that were being searched for on Google to find your website, which was good back in the day. You would look at how many searches or how many hits you were getting on your website based upon lawyer near me, personal injury attorney near me. And if you weren't getting enough, you could optimize that actual page to start building up rankings and obviously get more traffic and conversion. So it was great. You could also take those keywords and pay-per-click them. Social media wasn't as strong back then as it is now, but you could actually, do some content around social media. You could write blog posts. So it was a great way to really market your website. It was a huge amount of data we could use, and a lot of data we could go market with, and our job was a hell of a lot easier than it is now.
So why did they take that away?
Pay-per-click. So okay. They'll tell you there's a million reasons why they took it away. Safety. There was all these things that they came out with. But at the end of the day, they took that data away. So we would spend more money on pay-per-click to test keywords to find out what keywords are working and what keywords weren't working. Again, they told you there's a million different things, but most people who were SEO people at the time knew this was now us just to put more money towards pay-per-click. It was at that point you start seeing a major shift where a lot of companies started moving more and more into pay-per-click, which has now forced us to where we are right now, which is there's just not a whole lot of real estate on Google anymore for search engine optimization, which leads us to everybody's doing more pay-per-click. So I think this was kind of a progression for Google, and they're a business. That's exactly what you should be doing.
Okay, so one of the things that I'm interested in is, obviously this sort of just started rolling out for some people, and some of the Search Console things are now available as of just a couple weeks ago. So from what you've seen, what you've heard, does this really change a ton for marketers, or is it meant as more of a, here's some additional information, it may or may not be useful?
I think it's both. I mean, I think anytime that they're going to show you some of the search queries that were coming through on Google My Business and maybe more on Search Engine Console, that's going to help you. So it's kind of opening up the curtain a little bit, so we can take that data and we can optimize sites more. We can go in and say, okay, this is working on pay-per-click, or maybe let's try this on pay-per-click. So anytime Google decides to say, hey, here's a little bit more data for you, I think it's a good thing. So I'd like to see all the data, but I think this is a really good start with Google.
So this is kind of a small parting of the curtain. Do you think that Google might be doing this, more in the future? Is this kind of like one of the first smaller steps? Or have they done things in the past that maybe sort of led up to this? Or is it just kind of a one-off parting of the curtain a little bit?
I mean, that's a good question. I think that eventually they'll probably start as, and I know it's hard for people to understand this or maybe even believe it, but as we begin to move away from classic search engine types of queries where you get to your phone, go to your computer and type in plumber near me, hospital near me, whatever it may be, and we start moving along the lines of voice search, and now we're searching on Facebook and we're searching. So this traditional way of like looking for things on Google is beginning to change a little bit. I think Google's beginning to address that, and beginning to see that. So I think that they're beginning to release a little bit more data, where maybe they don't have to hold all of that data so close. They want to keep marketers engaged. So I'm kind of guessing here, but I'm just beginning to believe that we're beginning to see the transformation into different ways in which people search. And as that's happening, I think Google's going to start releasing more and more data as to what people are searching. How this impacts everything else, like voice search and everything else, I don't quite know yet. But I just think this is an aging or a progression of things that are happening right now in the search world.
Okay. Well, we'll be keeping an eye on and seeing, how much this data ends up being used by some marketers, seeing what other people say, and if it ends up affecting voice search and stuff like that going forward. Obviously, this is a small step of additional information, so we'll have to see, obviously, how effective it ends up actually being. As Laurie Sullivan mentions in her post, and as I'll also have in our own blog post, if you're interested in sort of checking this out, you guys can check out the guide that Google wrote on how to get a lot of this information. There's a lot of different ways in the Search Console that you can go through and organize the data, so that way you're getting exactly what you want through the query and stuff like that. So that's all for today's episode of the Commexis Cast. Thank you for watching. Len, thank you for joining me at the table today. If you guys would like to listen to more of us, you can check us out on SoundCloud, the iTunes Podcast Store, TuneIn, Stitcher, and the Google Podcasts app, and the Google Play Music Store. A lot of Google apps.
Just a lot.
And you can watch us in full on YouTube, IGTV, and Facebook, and get nice little clips of us on your social media by following us on Instagram, Twitter, and LinkedIn. Thank you very much, and have a great day.
Thanks.